Good day, I'm Twyla Whelan and this is your JS News for Thursday, October 23, 2025. The island is now under a tropical storm warning and hurricane watch as Melissa slowly drifts across the central Caribbean Sea. This means tropical storm conditions pose a possible threat to Jamaica within 36 hours and hurricane conditions are likely to pose a threat within 48 hours. Tropical storm Melissa is moving very slowly toward the west near 6 kilometers per hour, with maximum sustained winds near 85 kilometers per hour. Little change in strength is forecast during the next day or so, but the storm could become a hurricane in a couple of days. As the system nears Jamaica, the Met Service says periods of moderate to heavy rainfall, along with strong gusty winds, possibly reaching tropical storm strength, is expected to gradually develop late today, through Friday and into the weekend. This will initially affect eastern and southern parishes before gradually spreading across the remainder of the island. All small craft operators, including fishers from the Keys and Banks, should by now be in port and are urged to complete their necessary safety precautions without delay. In light of the updated forecast for Tropical Storm Melissa, face-to-face classes across the country have been suspended. The Ministry of Education gave the directive in a bulletin issued late Wednesday, explaining that the decision was made to prioritize the safety of students and staff. Schools were asked to switch to online learning today and to activate their education in emergency plans. Administrators are also urged to keep parents informed and make arrangements for student safety. Schools designated as shelters are reminded to coordinate with shelter managers and secure critical resources in case of worsening weather. The government has activated a $200 million national drain cleaning program spanning parishes from eastern Jamaica to St. Elizabeth as part of its disaster preparedness response to the potential impact of Tropical Storm Melissa. Minister with responsibility for works Robert Morgan says the initiative forms part of the government's pre-impact mitigation strategy to reduce flooding and safeguard lives and property. The intervention is being coordinated through the National Works Agency NWA and will focus on the cleaning of major and secondary drains, culverts and gullies in flood-prone communities. The drain cleaning activities began earlier this week and will continue across several constituencies in Portland, St. Thomas, St. Mary, St. Andrew, St. Catherine, Clarendon, Manchester and St. Elizabeth, where the heaviest rainfall and wind impact are projected. Meanwhile, the National Works Agency NWA undertook desilting works along the Sandy Gully in Kingston on Wednesday in preparation for the passage of the tropical storm. Sandy Gully has become heavily silted with debris carried from multiple communities served by its tributaries, and the works were also undertaken to safeguard the bridge, which has been threatened by this accumulation of debris. Excavators and trucks were deployed to remove dirt and debris during a site visit on Wednesday by Minister with responsibility for works, Robert Morgan. He acknowledged that the intervention represented a temporary solution.
It will not solve the problem that faces the gully. That problem will be solved by the major capital project that is going through the process now. We're going to be doing some remedial work shortly outside of the major capital project that is to come to look at the most critical areas that are under threat. But right now, our main focus is to be prepared for what could be a very damaging storm and to protect life and property by protecting this bridge, which is spanning the major artery heading into Kingston.
The Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries and Mining has moved into high gear as it activates its national disaster preparedness protocols in anticipation of the approaching weather system. Minister Floyd Green says the emergency response teams have been mobilized to safeguard the nation's farmers and fishers and to minimize potential losses in the agriculture and fisheries sectors.
We've activated our Disaster Risk Management Committee to coordinate a swift and organized response with the impending tropical storm Melissa. Our technical teams are on the ground, ensuring that our farmers and fishers have the necessary support to prepare and protect their livelihoods.
Rural Agricultural Development Authority, RADA teams are providing farmers with support in securing their crops, livestock and infrastructure, including on-the-spot guidance. Fisheries officers from the National Fisheries Authority have been dispatched to fishing beaches, especially along the south coast, to ensure vessels are secured, evacuation plans are in place, and fishers are advised on safety protocols. Farmers and fishers are being urged to take every precaution to protect life and property.
We're asking all our stakeholders to act swiftly and responsibly. The ministry stands ready to support and will continue to monitor the situation.
Stakeholders can access real-time updates and advisories on the ministry, RADA, and NFA Instagram pages. Meanwhile, the Ministry of Tourism's Emergency Operations Center has been activated at the Jamaica Pegasus Hotel. Portfolio Minister Edmund Bartlett says this is to ensure continued coordination between key agencies and industry partners to safeguard the sector. At the same time, he is urging all tourism stakeholders, industry partners and visitors across the island to take every necessary precaution as Tropical Storm Melissa continues its slow approach toward Jamaica. He says the ministry is working closely with ODPEM, the Meteorological Service and other relevant agencies to ensure the sector's preparedness and safety. Pointing out that resilience has long been at the heart of Jamaica's tourism success, Minister Bartlett is urging calm while remaining vigilant. The Ministry of Labour and Social Security is also reporting that all its readiness protocols across the various parish offices have been fully activated. Portfolio Minister Pernell Charles Jr. says this involves providing support for shelter operations and ensuring that resources are on hand to undertake any post-disaster household assessments that may be required.
We have also ensured that our communication groups have been activated. It is important for us to be able to stay in touch, and we learned a lot of lessons in the Rebuild Jamaica effort during burial. Communication was one of our greatest challenges, and so we are continuing discussions around communication, and we have heard from and are in touch with Starlink and other providers to assist us if necessary.
He says the ministry has also reached out to its partners, and the line of credit entities have been notified by parish offices to ensure that food can be pre-positioned as required.
I know that St. Mary and the St. Thomas teams, as well as Portland, have already started to collect food packages and relief supplies, including bedding, tarpaulins, and toiletries.
The ministry's warehouse is also engaged in food package preparation and general securing of relief supplies. Minister Charles Jr. adds that the vulnerable groups, including PATH beneficiaries, senior citizens and persons with disabilities, are being verified so they can be checked on through social workers as necessary. Meanwhile, the island's main disaster response agency, ODPEM, has activated all systems and personnel to respond to the tropical storm. Director General of the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management, Richard Thompson, explains that ODPEM has actually been monitoring the system since October 16 and making appropriate arrangements.
To date, we have carried out a number of activities in terms of our general preparation. One of the main things that we have done when we are facing anything of this nature is to immediately put our parish and national disaster mechanism on standby in preparation for any eventuality. So the parish disaster coordinators, we have placed those on standby from very early, from over the weekend.
A critical part of ODPEM's activation process is to ensure adequate disaster communication in times of emergency. And Mr. Thompson says the agency has been going through its radio protocols with the National Emergency Response Team. Earlier today, State Minister of Local Government and Community Development Delroy Williams, acting on behalf of Minister Desmond McKenzie, who is overseas, visited the homeless shelter in downtown Kingston to check its state of readiness. ODPEM has said all shelters across the island have been activated and are on standby if the need becomes necessary. Critical utility provider, the Jamaica Public Service Company, JPS, is preparing to activate its emergency operations to facilitate a coordinated response in the event of damage to the power delivery infrastructure. JPS says it will be drawing on its partnerships with overseas contractors for mutual aid response, and the first group of overseas line workers from St. Vincent was scheduled to arrive yesterday. Meanwhile, the company is encouraging customers to take the necessary precautions to protect themselves and their property. Customers are advised to have their service wires checked to ensure they are properly secured and free from damage to prevent serious safety hazards during the storm. They are also being reminded to know where their circuit breaker is located in case it becomes necessary to turn off the power supply on their premises. Customers should also make sure that backup generators are operational and gassed. Persons with solar installations are encouraged to ensure their battery energy storage systems are charged and that panels are secured. Importantly, JPS is appealing to customers to make sure that their solar installations and generators are put on settings that prevent a backfeed onto the JPS grid. This is an issue that can be hazardous to members of the public and JPS crew working on power lines. The power company says that in the event of a loss of power supply, every effort will be made to restore electricity safely and within the shortest possible time. Outages, downed lines and other electricity-related issues can be reported through the MyJPS mobile app. And finally, Jamaicans are being urged to prepare as the country braces for the impact of Tropical Storm Melissa. Minister with responsibility for weather services Matthew Samuda says it's important for persons to heed the various warnings and take all necessary steps to protect life and property, but do not panic. He assures that the government is coordinating the national response and will keep citizens regularly updated.
This will require an all-of-government response, but we want to assure citizens that they will get timely updates from the Met Service. They will benefit from our bolstered capacity. We're now using our own Doppler radar, whereas before we had to depend almost solely on external sources, on external support. And we are very clear that we have had to mobilize our other agencies to ensure that they provide particular support through their early warning systems.
And that's it for JS News Today. I'm Twyla Whelan. Thanks for watching.